Hello and welcome to CIO News. I am Khushbu Soni, your host for the broadcast and chief editor at CIO News. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, that is cionews.co.in, and our CIO News LinkedIn handle. Welcome to our series. The series name is Voice of CIO, and I am very excited to invite our guest for today, Mr. Mobin Muhammed, the Chief Information Officer and Chief Operating Officer at SleeveTechs. Mobin has 20 years of rich experience in IT infrastructure and services setup and support. He also has rich experience around automation, enterprise resource planning, IT projects, budgeting, information security implementation for domains like retail, agriculture, farming, e-commerce, outsourcing, logistics, heavy equipment rental, and industrial services. Welcome, Mobin. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Khushbu. It's my pleasure to be here with you. And I'm really honored to be here, in this interview alongside you.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to get your wonderful insight. So, great. So my first question is around the cybersecurity, Mobin, and if it would be great to hear from you, what is the importance of cybersecurity post-pandemic as per you, and what would be your recommendations to companies or the must-have processes or tools to help strengthen their online security?
Yeah, see, what's happened recently is, because of the pandemic, business continuity has dictated that people had to connect from remote, work from home, these kind of things. Before, when you talk about maybe 3 years back, more than 3 years back, the guys who would have VPN credentials to connect to your network would only be the IT guys. Right. Yeah. It was something that connecting to VPN was only something like the domain of IT, right? Now, each and every one, be it a data entry operator, be it the CEO of the company, everybody is using VPN because they need to access all the resources from outside.
Correct.
One more thing which has happened is a lot of people who were not technology savvy, you can say before, have been pushed into using technology, right? So what's happened is the number of users have increased. The number of users using technology like VPN, using resources from outside has increased. So automatically what happens is, as we always say in cybersecurity, sometimes, technology can't do much. Your people, your employees are your first line of defense, right? Yeah. You have the best firewall, you have the best security systems, monitoring systems, but then one phishing email which directly reaches a user, right? Who might click on something, download a malware and run it. So what's happened, in spite of having everything, the firewall has said, okay, this is an okay connection, right? It is to a user, he's accepted it. So basically this is what has happened. The number of users have increased. Not all of them are tech savvy, as it was like before. And so it is very important, more than ever, that the cybersecurity be treated with the utmost importance, you can say, right?
Yeah.
Also, a lot of new technologies have come. For example, there is RPA now. A lot of independent systems are running, automatically, right?
Yeah.
So these also have to be secured because these are not systems somebody is logging into every day, right? So these also have to be secured. So it's not like before. Coming to the point about what organizations can do. One thing, of course, is email security. Okay, this is a basic thing which they have to do. There are a lot of anti-malware, anti-phishing, rather, you can say. Anti-phishing tools available. There are tools which use AI to, identify phishing emails. So these kind of things need to be given importance. For larger organizations, you can do exercises like red teaming, blue teaming, wherein you get people to attack and defend, right? So they are well prepared when something does really happen, right? And one more basic thing, almost everybody is using web applications nowadays, right? So you might be hosting it through Apache or maybe through IIS. It's pretty easy for a system administrator to change the default port on which the web application communicates. Now, for example, use port 80 for TCP, 443 for HTTPS. There are standard ports. When possible, you should change it. Basically, you're obfuscating the communication port, so hackers cannot easily find vulnerabilities. Correct. So I think these are not expensive measures, and every CIO should make sure that these things are implemented. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. My next question is around, what are the promising emerging trends in technology which are shaping the future of cybersecurity?
We are lucky in one way. We are living in an era where there's a lot of things happening. Sometimes, even feel that we are lucky to be in the era of Elon Musk, for example, right? I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
him too.
true.
Yeah. So a lot of developments are happening. The billionaires are investing in space travel, which again is, something quite happening. Our children will always remember, right, that we were growing up when a lot of disruption was happening in technology, right, overall. So what's happening now? Let's look at two of the biggest things. When you say AI and ML, everybody knows, these are happening things,
Yes.
right? So when I say AI, it basically, it can help you, when there are repetitive tasks, which humans can do, or maybe there is something to do with a lot of data processing, or, something like superhuman, right? You look at a lot of data. For example, what Google is doing, they look at the eye scan and they're able to predict so many things with your health,
Right.
These things are very difficult, for humans to do. So AI coming into the play has made these things very easy. Combine it with machine learning. What does machine learning do? It can be supervised or unsupervised. For example, you can tell it, okay, this is an apple. Show it a photo. Show one more apple. Okay, show it an orange and say this is not an apple, right? So
Right.
that is how you're teaching the machine. This is how to learn. And now, because of this deep learning and neural networks, which simulate the synapses of the brain and all the communications, all these things, we are able to make them self-learning. We just start them on, give them some initial data, and we get chess playing AIs which can almost, which can defeat the world champions, which is unthinkable, right?
Correct.
So now combine this, as I said, into cybersecurity. What can you do, right? Now, what happens when there is an attack, right? How does a cybersecurity team stop an attack, right? What do they do? They analyze the logs. There are alerts coming from different devices like the firewalls. These are like thousands of lines of alerts, right?
Yeah.
And all this data from the servers, for example, all this data is sent to a security information and event monitoring storage solution. From there, they analyze this and they try to understand, okay, is there something which is normal? Is there something which is abnormal? For example, John, let's say there's a Mr. Kapoor sitting in finance. Suddenly he is trying to access something which is not in his department from marketing, right? Which normally does not do. So how these kind of things, for a person to do it really, in real time, it's not so easy, right? 24/7. But when you put a tool which can read your entire, which can mirror your entire network, the packets which are being translated, transferred inside your network, analyze it, and then highlight you, hey, this is not right. This endpoint is connecting here. Somebody is connecting to one computer from outside, and then they're encrypting something in your file server, right? There are technologies available. For example, there's a company called as Darktrace, which is already doing this. We have actually used it, yeah. So these kind of things, right? This shows that, AI and ML are not just, theoretical concepts that we have to talk about. These are things actually we are seeing in use. So cybersecurity, this is what it is. There are a lot of solutions available which can actually do this for us, right?
Right.
So yeah, this would be the main thing, for to look out for. Of course, there are other things also like RPA and all. Yeah.
Awesome. So my next question is, what are the other aspects of IT departments that are key to ensuring optimal service delivery to the internal customers?
Of course, yeah, cybersecurity is key right now, because without that, everything else can fall. But then, there are routine operations which should not be ignored. For example, you need to have some processes and standards implemented. You talk about ITIL, for example, there is already a set of rules and policies. How do you manage change? These are already defined, right? So these things have to be made a part of your IT team. This has to be, made sure. You have to make sure, even if you're using an IT help desk, you try to make sure that this is built as per the ITIL processes and policies. There is a change happening, right? You're doing some changes to a server, which is critical for business data. The owner of the business data, the custodian of the business data has to be in the picture, in the change management board. So these kind of things you have to make sure, because of the complexity of today's technology and the solutions, it is pretty important that this has to be done. Other thing, of course, is routine trainings, right? There's something I'd heard, that somebody, I think a lot of people have heard about this too. Somebody tells the CEO that, let's spend this budget, let's keep this budget for training the guys. So this guy says that, what if we train them and if they leave? So the CEO says, what if we don't train them and if they don't leave? Yeah. So you're stuck with people who are untrained. And what's the point? It doesn't make any sense. So routine training is very important. not just job specific, even something like cybersecurity awareness, for example.
Yeah.
One of the previous companies where I've worked, for example, a contracting company in Saudi Arabia, Expertise, we started off the cybersecurity training because they have like around almost 10,000 employees, floating population. Out of them, maybe 4,000 of them come and go. They're there for few months only on projects. So every month, the team conducts cybersecurity awareness trainings. Don't click on links. Check how to check if the mail is, from the right guy. Are you expecting this kind of email from somebody? Right? So is there something strange happening, wherein your system is slowing down? Call the IT team immediately, right?
Yeah.
So this is what it is. These kind of things need to be done. Also I've seen, a lot of these things happening even in logistics companies also, right? So, my quite recent experience has been into logistics industries as well as this one, the contracting and engineering services divisions, right?
Right.
So one good thing I've seen, for example, one of the logistics industries where I've been working recently, right? Compass International, the team treats the department users as its customers. See, that is the key, right? So when you know that you treat your internal support, the end users as your customers, the way you deliver service changes, right? You are more courteous, you are more concerned about making sure that they have good feedback about you. So I think these are some things which are pretty important for any IT team. Yeah.
True, very true.
Yeah.
My next question is, what's your take on blockchain adoption? And do you feel it's going to be disruptive or transitioned? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. See, blockchain is something big. And unfortunately, I've not really got too much of hands-on experience on this, but then I do read a lot about it. And I can see things happening already. Even as I said, in the logistics industry, there's a lot of things happening because of blockchain-enabled solutions, you can say, right? So, I mean, in simple terms, what is blockchain? It is just allowing you to store some transactions such that they are what you can call as, they cannot be changed, we can say, to put it in simple terms. And these are like permanent, right? You can just say that, okay, this was the present value, this is the next value. You cannot delete the present value or the old value. So this gives a form of trust. Okay, so based on this, there are a lot of solutions. We see cryptocurrency, we see Bitcoin, and one important thing what I would like to say is, in the shipping industry, for example, IBM, for example, has done a lot of work on this, right? They have enabled a solution. It's called a trade lanes. What this does, it totally changes the way, it is almost there, it's almost there, So what it will do is all the documents, the multitude of documents which are involved in the shipping industry, right? What happens now, it is managed in different formats by different stakeholders in the transit of any goods, right?
Yeah.
Now, the computing power, the time, the money required to maintain this, understand this, interface this is quite complicated and it costs a lot. Now, once we have a system which can use blockchain and everyone can tap into that single point of single source of truth, rather, right? So it makes it very easy. There is a single platform. So yes, blockchain is definitely here to stay, and it's enabling. It's actually like a platform, right?
Yeah.
There is the what do you call, the Linux Foundation has its own platform. IBM has its own platform. So all these platform solutions, developers have to build solutions on it and use it. This is what I see. Not only that, okay, there is one more important thing. There are new carriers coming up. So CIOs need to be updated about this, because tomorrow my team might have a blockchain regulator, might have a blockchain network operator, might have a blockchain developer. Yeah. These are not guys we see in our offices nowadays. But then see, if you have to manage these people, you need to know what this is about.
Right.
So it is here to stay. And I think this is a key topic for all CIOs to get themselves updated on. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And we've seen a lot of new API focused startups coming up across the last few years. So is this something that would benefit CIOs with their solutions deployment strategies?
Yeah, it would definitely. See, before, it was now it is APIs. Before it was EDIs. You can say that majority of the transactions are still happening through electronic data exchange, right? EDI. So using AAC, X12, EDI, there are still a lot of companies and, hundreds of shipping lines also, right, who are doing all these transactions through EDIs. But then the disadvantage, if you look at it, is that this is not real time. You're actually using like a SFTP, a secure file transfer, a location, right? To put a flat file maybe in batches and then take the information out. That is old. That is EDI, which is, of course, needed. But APIs enable real-time communication between 2 points, right? So you can model the data. You can enable dynamic views. These are the advantages. So that's one thing. The other thing is when companies come with an API first approach, For a CIO, it is very easy to build a solution, right? You know what data you need. You build an API to get the data for you, and then you build the application what you need to show the data as you need it. So this is the faster way of developing some applications, you can say. So this is a key, it's a, what do you say? It's a way of the things are going to be in the future. The way you build solution is going to change. You don't have solutions and then think about how to connect them. There is a solution somewhere in the cloud. It has an API. You need to know how to tap into it and get it running.
Correct.
So definitely it is important. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on RPA?
Yeah. See, RPA, as I said, as I mentioned, it's something happening big time. I mean, if you can imagine, I've maybe worked with a software called as Autorate, which was actually a scraping software, maybe 17 years back. So now I see it has become a technology in itself. Okay, so robotic process automation. It's a beautiful name, right? And it's really beautiful what it can do, right? If you can think about it, Kushbu, see, there's a guy sitting there, he's receiving an email, it has an attachment, it is from a particular sender. He opens the file, he checks, which is the invoice number, the payment due date, and everything else, and he enters it into the ERP, maybe SAP, right? And then he saves the file somewhere. So this entire thing, what I told you, it can happen in seconds. Using an RPA bot installed, right? Correct. So we could not have imagined this before. So, you just put a machine, so these manual tasks can be done automatically. So the way I look at it, RPA is also something which is pretty big and happening. There are a lot of big RPA players out there, and we need to be prepared to, if you're not still using RPA in your organization, you need to at least evaluate what it can do for you. Take it like a case study and then see if you can put the budget for it. And the ROI is pretty fast compared to other technologies. Right? You get your returns maybe within a year. That is how RPA is. True. So it's something interesting, definitely. Yeah.
True. True. And my next question is, how important is diversity, that state, nationality, religion, gender, while building tech teams? Does that really matter? Your thoughts on that?
See, for this is actually a subject which is close to my heart because of my personal experience also. My career growth has been, thankfully, it has been aggressive, my career growth. This was, of course, it's all due to the bosses whom I've reported to, the CTOs, CEOs whom I reported to, for example, Sridhar Turaga from E4E, then there is Samir from Compass, and then there is Ashraf from Expenditures. The bosses, so that is one side, okay, that is one side. Now, the other side, we don't spend our entire time with the bosses, right? We work with the teams. For example, one of my earlier jobs, there were two women, okay, one heading the operations, Vani, and then there was another lady who was heading the HR, Manpreet. Now, these ladies, just working with them every day, meeting them, having 30 minutes meeting with them, I realized, what Jacinta from this, the Prime Minister, she talks about how you can still use compassion and still get results done. I learned this at a very early, stage in my career. Why? Because I got the opportunity to work with them. If gender diversity was not there, I would not have got that. That has, believe me, it has helped me a lot in building the trust, because when you take your team as a friend, the results what you get is awesome, So believe me, you get just a room full of men and you start working. This is not going to happen. You need to have a different kind of, thought process. So you want the best, they say the men are from Mars, women are from Venus. You want the best of Mars and Venus, you need to have gender diversity. There's there's no two ways about it, And religion, of course, this is something which is highly critical. If I have a team of only Muslims, for example, in the Middle East, right? What am I going to do during Eid holidays? If suppose there is something critical, it is difficult for me to call somebody out who's with his family and tell, come attend to this. I need you right away in the office, right? Imagine the same thing in a Christian-dominated team, right? When you have the Christmas holidays going on. So, I mean, it's pretty common sense. You need to have diversity in religion also, right? And then, of course, when you talk about regional diversity, right? Talking about people from different states, different countries. I've seen this, I've seen this happening at Compass, One of the things what the owner of the company did is he's made sure that the team contains people from different nationalities. Okay, the head office was in Dubai, and Dubai is like, it's like an influx point for multiple nationalities. What did this do? This helped him scale up the business, from three branches in one country. Within 5-6 years, he was grew up to 15 branches in 15 different countries rather, right? So how is this possible? Because he had these different nationalities, they were working at one point, and then they said, hey, we can even work from there and do this for you. Let's open a small office there.
Right.
it would have been possible, so diversity is key. Without diversity, a company cannot sustain, and we are going to get trampled by the competition. So we have to remember this always. Yeah.
Very true. Couldn't agree more. I mean, that's a very good insight and a thought.
Yeah.
My last question, Mobin, is what changes do you foresee on the financial side for IT expenditures in the coming years, which CIOs need to plan for?
As we're all aware, we are seeing a shift. Initially the outlook was, it was not looking good, with the pandemic and other things. But IT side, definitely everyone agrees that it has been good, because people have realized the value of IT more, how it can enable you to work, how digitization really helps. So, in fact, excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So as I was saying, the pandemic has taught us that IT can, IT is pretty important. Digitization is pretty important. So even Gartner, recently they've done 2 studies. Initially, they said a few months back that, you can look at a 4.9% growth in the total spending in 2021. But now again, after a few months, they've come back and increased the projection. They're saying there's a 6.2% now, so this shows, and these guys are not small. They do a lot of research, before getting into this. So we know that we have to be prepared for more spending, which as I say, more spending doesn't mean more happiness. It means more responsibility, more stress, more pressure, right? Because you need to make sure it is not misused. You need to make sure it is channeled in the proper directions. You don't waste it on something which might not be useful in the future, right? So it is more important for CIOs to understand not just budgeting, but also financial forecasting now, right? You don't just plan and set a baseline by doing your budgeting. You need to be estimate. Are you going in the right direction by doing some financial forecasting? So you cannot just sit on the tech side. You need to, focus a little bit on the financial side. Make sure you are capitalizing on the opportunity which is there. And, that's one thing. Okay, then the other side, there is something which can be like a threat. For example, if you've heard of shadow IT, what's happening? Most of the companies nowadays, they start thinking of, okay, hey, I'm into this. I'm generating all the revenue. Why should I have to wait for an IT department to approve this one? I will buy the things. Let my guys buy the things. Let them deploy. Let the IT guys just advise them and support them. So this is good maybe for the business side, but for the CIOs in terms of security, this is a big threat. Because you're not approving something, there is somebody working up with some new kind of device. Now you have to figure out, how do you secure these devices? So you have to be more proactive. Before they buy the device, you need to find out what is available in the market. How can you secure it? How can you let it securely connect to your this one? How do you containerize the data, which you keep on that device so that you can erase it, in case required. So, I mean, it's a lot of things, so budget. As I said, for budgeting, this is a threat. Why? Because I do not know how I cannot plan my budget anymore. I do not know how many computers I'm buying, laptops I'm buying, what kind of devices I'm buying. Something to come with something, then I have to buy the security solutions for that, the connectivity for that, right? So my budget is getting a little out of unplanned domain. So this is what it is. Yeah.
Great. I think wonderful insights, Mobin. I'm sure our viewers are going to get great insights from our today's session. And I would like to thank you for joining us and sharing all your thoughts and your experiences for the viewers. So thank you so much, and it was great to have you on another episode of Voice of CIO Series.
Wonderful, Khushbu. Thank you so much. The honor is, I feel happy that you gave me this opportunity, and thankfully because of this, I've gone through your website. I've been reading some materials. You've been sharing. Knowledge is something that you cannot stop. It has to keep growing, and it's good to know that you are part of something which is doing that for CIOs, right? So now to know that tomorrow I know that I don't have to go to 100 websites. I can come to one website like yours, and I can get diverse information. This which is very good. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for arranging the event, and thank you for having me today too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mobin. Means a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.